job of introducing Scott Chappell. So I actually want to know, how the hell did the bagels, the best bagels from this side of New York, come to Port Macquarie?
Yes.
And I want to know from Scott, how come bagels? And how did you get your name, like Market Bagels? What I love about his business, because his seminar is about selling more, I actually have a lot of Jewish friends, and I can tell you they eat bagels pretty traditionally. So they actually see Scott's, he actually has innovated in terms of, like, you can have all sorts of bagels that the Jewish people have never heard of. So he's innovated in terms of a diverse range, but also he's made it really easy to buy the bagels. So you can buy them from him. He's got 3 outlets. So one on William Street, Luigi's, and Black Market Bagels at Bell Bowery. You can buy them fresh, so he serves them to you. My favourite is the Reuben. But you can also buy them frozen, so you can actually bring them home and pretend that you made them. For your dinner party, so that's great. And his website's full of ideas and how you can do that. And you can also buy them from retailers and cafes. You can actually he's actually brought the taste of New York to the mid-north coast. But you can also get his bagels in Sydney, Tamworth, Coffs. And how I found out about Scott in terms of Googling for him was actually through reviews. Black Market Bagels has loads of reviews from TripAdvisor, and they're all fantastically positive. So that's amazing that you just find out about a business through reviews. What am I going to say? I've tried to meet Scott before today. I only met him today, and his businesses have been really impacted by the floods. Luigi's. So I actually went to Bell Bowery, I went to Short Street, and I actually have to say I felt devastated in terms of seeing what had happened. But one of the things that Scott's demonstrated is when we're in business, things happen, and we just, we're always helping people, and people depend on us in terms of our businesses being open, be it customers. So in terms of Scott, it's Port Macquarie dinner parties. So if that delegate doesn't reopen, what's going to happen to Port Macquarie's dinner parties? So in terms of, we're really privileged that he's taken some time out, because he's got a lot to do here, to come and talk to us. So let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Wendy. So I got a phone call a few weeks ago and was asked to come along and I'm going to say, have a yarn to you guys about what I do. And I was a little bit shocked, to be honest, to get that phone call. I thought, well, what do I know about what I do? And so it's been a really interesting time for myself to actually sit down and do a bit of an audit on what it is that I actually do and my staff do and how we operate. And we do a lot. You take it for granted when you're in business, and you shouldn't. You should be proud of what you do, and I think that's what I'm going to take away from this. So I really appreciate the opportunity to have a yarn to you today. Who am I? So I'm just an average bloke. I was born in Armidale, up the hill here, and started working for my dad in retail. So I come from a business infused family. My dad has, when I was a baby, my mum and dad started a small business detailing motor cars, and I was sort of in the pram while they worked, and so I kind of just grew up in business, and I've taken a lot from my parents. I guess the key thing I've taken from them is hard work. Business is not, small business is not easy, but it is really rewarding at times. My partner, Nicole, and I moved to Port Macquarie about 27, 28 years ago from Armidale, and we opened a camping store not far from where you are, which is Ryan's Bakery now. It used to be a camping store. We had that going for a few years and sold that on, and then I went and worked in in government agencies and training organisations, so I've got a bit of a background in training as well. You asked some interesting questions, Wendy. Why bagels? And that's a good question. It's a great question. I'd been working in government agencies and training organisations, and I was getting stale. I'd been doing it for 15, 20 years, and you know, life just plods along. You have a couple of kids, and there's money coming in, and everything's sweet, but you don't really look at, you know, what am I doing with my life? Am I doing what I want to do? And I wasn't. The truth is I wasn't. So a guy who owned a company in town, a coffee roasting business called Pete Coffee, he had a son who had a bagel machine and was making bagels in a little commercial kitchen in the industrial estate. The son didn't have a clue about how to run a business, but was really good at making food products, bagels. He made bao buns, and he made all sorts of things. He's very talented. So he recruited me to teach the son how to run a business, because sons don't listen to their fathers. and it turns out they don't listen to people that their fathers recruit either. So on day 2, I won't say exactly what he said, but it was along the lines of, look, mate, this is my business. I'll run it the way I want. So from that moment, I kind of got the feeling that this was a good opportunity, but it was going to be a challenge. Well, the son, as sons do, lost interest, took off overseas, and I was left with this business to run. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I've never left the country. I've never left Australia, so I've never been to New York. I'd eaten bagels a few times, always enjoyed them with smoked salmon and cream cheese. But here I was working away, and then next thing, this American guy gets thrown at me. He moved over here, and my boss at the time said, "Here, this American guy's going to come and help you with bagels." Well, it turned out he didn't know anything about bagels either. Just because he was American didn't make a difference. He's a really good bloke, and he's one of my best mates to this day. And he became my business partner. We were working away, making bagels, and I said, "You know, Steve, I reckon this could be a goer. We could do something with this." And he said, "All right, I agree." So we went to our boss at the time and said, "Look, we'd like to purchase the machine. We're not going to stay where we are. We're going to change the whole vibe of the thing." So we moved to Melbourne. So a couple of things. We're a little bit crazy, I think, in a couple of regards. Bagels in Australia, people really don't know much about them, so that's part of my job. Bagels in Port Macquarie, the demographic is probably not ideal, and bagels in Melbourne, which at the time was a pretty quiet little hub. It's called the hub. Well, it's been a bit of a journey, 3.5, 4 years on, where we're making some bagels, and we're making a lot of bagels, and we sell them up and down the coast in frozen format. We sell them inland. We're into the Sydney market, and things are ticking over. In fact, in the middle of COVID last year, we opened another bagel shop in town. So there's 2 bagel shops in Port Macquarie now. A lot of people shook their head and said, what are you doing? And I've got a theory. I'm full of theories. You ask my kids, they'll say, "Oh, another theory." But I reckon everybody at some stage in their life gets an opportunity or an idea. And the secret to being successful is realizing that this is a good idea or a good opportunity, and then acting on it. And I reckon this is mine. So I'm acting on it, and my partner and I are into it. And we work hard, but we love what we do, and that is a secret. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. I was one of those blokes. I was a gunner. I call myself a gunner. Yeah, one day I'm going to do this, and one day I'm going to do that. I never did much, you know. You get caught up in that family life thing. But then one day, about 20 years ago, 22 years ago, my partner had an ultrasound for our first child. And I had an ultrasound on the same day. And I saw a picture of my child, and I saw a picture of the tumour that was growing inside me. that was the moment that I said, enough. You gotta have a crack and don't die wondering. So, from a negative, that became a positive influence in my life. And look, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It was a lot of chemotherapy and mucking around and hard graft. But yeah, it's 22 years ago, and that's all behind us now. So, from those sorts of challenges, you can move forward. So that leads me to the next thing. People say, sometimes you're lucky. You know, you're so lucky. You got this. Or well, yeah, luck. But I think people create their own luck, and being open to, get a bit airy fairy, but being open to the universe sometimes and letting things in and working with it rather than fighting against it, and working hard. And I think that's how you create your own luck. I'm meant to be talking about sales and how we do that. Well, I think all of these things are ingredients that go towards how your business works, and it's different for everybody, and I get that. But in our circumstances, I think a big part of it is belief. Okay, so you've got to have a product that's good, and I've got a good product. I know that, I've been told that by numerous people. And you mentioned reviews, online reviews. You know, I hear that all the time, and that's fantastic. You've got to believe in yourself. So you've got to believe that, you know, I can do this, and that's also difficult. And you were talking about anxiety and confidence for people, and you know, I get that. You've got to believe in your staff. Hard thing for me to do. I'm a bit of a control freak, but I'm learning, and I believe in my staff. And the moment you hand over and believe in your staff, wonderful things happen, and they are happening. You've got to believe in your customers, and I believe solidly in my customers. They're a fantastic bunch of people, and the really good thing about what I do is I get to see them most days. Coffee people are, it's a drug. They've got to have it each day, and it's wonderful to build those relationships. And you've got to believe in your systems. First of all, you've got to get systems. You've got to put systems in place. So, I can't sell a product if I don't have a good product. I can't sell a product if I can't get that product to market. I've got to get it in people's mouths. Now, that's easy, right? Well, I can tell you getting frozen bagels from here to Tamworth can sometimes take me 3 weeks. So there's challenges out there that have got to be, and I'm not exaggerating, it's a thing, and we're working on these sorts of things. So you've got to get your systems in place. How do you increase your sales, and how do you do that? Well, there's huge amounts of things that go into this, but I think you've got to start from a solid base. So we started our business small. We focused on quality, doing it right. Making sure we had the product. If someone rang up and said to me, I need 120 everything bagels, I need to have them ready to go. Not, yeah mate, I'll sort it in a week, you know. So you've got to have the stock ready to roll. We've all heard this before, but you know, don't go out on a limb and promise too much. Under promise, over deliver. It's an old adage, but it works for us. Train yourself. Train your staff. So I'm very interested in what you had to say earlier. You can't just meddle along. You've got to have people who know what they're doing and feel confident in what they're doing. Love your staff. I talk a lot about staff. Just as an aside, you know, yes, I lost a business. Well, we've temporarily lost a business, and some of those people work with me there full time, and some of them aren't. They're casuals. Now, my insurance coverage covers the wages, thank goodness, of my full-time staff, but it doesn't cover the wages of my casuals. Now, I wasn't aware of that, but So the hard-nosed business person says, sorry, you got to go. I can't afford to pay you. But these people have got families and responsibilities and lives, and I can't do that to them. So my partner and I sat down and we worked out a way, luckily enough with our other two businesses, of being able to spread them over those businesses and keep them employed and keep them connected to us. So love your staff, and when you get them, hold them, you know, and work with them to make sure that they stay. Now, I know small business don't often have a lot of staff, but you know, it's what works for us.
Is it saying you're only as good as your staff are?
Unbelievably true. On the flip side, I've learnt some things in the last few years. Cut them loose if they're no good. Cut them loose. Do it nicely, do it legally, follow the steps that you've got to follow, but cut them loose. You work too hard and you work too long to have your business destroyed by inappropriate staff. And that's happened a couple of times. And you've just got to, I hated doing the process and going through that, but it had to be done for the benefit of everyone. If you've got happy staff, and for any of you who've been to my businesses, generally I think we've got a great bunch and they do the right thing, you'll sell more product. People are invested in the business. How do I do that? Well, I respect them, I love them, I pay them well. I say to my people, if you're on the award wage in 6 months, you need to find another job. If you are not worth more to me than the award, then you need to find another job. So that's how I do it. And so people get paid more than the award, or the people that stay with me. Recruit well. Recruitment and finding people in Port Macquarie has been, and particularly when I opened my store in the middle of COVID, was a nightmare. I could not find staff to work. No one wanted to work. You know, there was rumours going around, everyone was on JobKeeper and they were all doing this and that. I don't know whether that's true, but I do know it was hard. So when you get them, hold on to them. So that's staff. Product. Do it differently. It's easy to do what everyone else does because you just pinch their idea. And I've actually done that. So our business model works, as you know, we have like little front of house. That's more of a marketing strategy for us. We love it, and it's enabled us to develop our product and get it to people and see how people like it. But the crux of our business is the wholesale side of things. So I looked around, I thought, how do we get bagels? They're a bread product. They go stale. Bread goes stale. You know, bagels are pretty good. They're pretty hearty, but you know, a week, like you get them from Coles or Woolworths in a bag. You know, wow, they've probably been cooked 10 days ago, and they come from New Zealand because you can't get a good bagel in Australia, right? So they make them in New Zealand and throw them over here. So I thought, how did Coke do it? Coke supply a refrigerator. So long as you put their product in the refrigerator, you can have the refrigerator free of charge. So we supply freezer units free of charge to people, so long as our product, frozen product, is in there. And that's how we're growing our business. So pinch that idea, thanks Coke. Make your product delicious and enticing, you know, and that, I'm not real flash when it comes to social media and technology. That's not my thing. But you've got to have a good website. You've got to have good social media. TikTok, I know roughly what it is, and we're gonna do it. There's that word again. And don't, I've mentioned the big supermarkets, don't sell, for me, don't sell what Coles and Aldi and Woolies sell. Don't bother. They will wipe the floor with you. They're too powerful. Just don't go into a fight with them. Make it different. Place yourself in the market, and you'll be fine. So, all that being said, you've got to know your market. It's still a work in progress for us because, like I said at the start, bagels haven't been a staple for Australia, you know, and here we are making jalapeno and cheese bagels and choc chip bagels. Jewish people look at us and just scratch their heads and think, what are you doing? You know, but we're finding a market. We're finding the Australian bagel market, not necessarily the traditional bagel market. So if I was in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, I'd probably only make 2 types of bagels, you know, traditional stuff, poppy seed and a plain bagel. That's what Jewish people did. By the way, the history of bagels, for those of you who don't know, they were a Polish Jews, and then they've got a hole in them because they used to thread them through a bit of rope, and that's how they took them to market. The Polish Jews, end of World War II, a lot fled to America, particularly New York, hence the New York Jewish link with the bagels. But I digress. What do we do? Okay. Our stores, we believe in service. Okay, everyone says that, you know, service. And we're dealing face to face, and I know a lot of you guys deal online. I've had experiences recently purchasing products online from different companies, and you can get duds and you can get good ones, and you know the difference straight up. So it translates across whether you're dealing face to face. So service in my book is smile. Just smile at the customer. Say g'day, how you going? You don't have to have a 10-minute yarn, but just say g'day, you know, and if my staff are busy, they know, they turn around and acknowledge someone who walks through the door. I won't be a second, I'll be right with you, sir. That makes all the difference. You know yourself when you walk in and you're sort of like, whoa, they even know I'm here. That can be a real letdown. Smile at them and be a can-do. So people work for me, a can-do people. I'm not interested in what you can't do. I want to know what you can do. And not everyone can do everything. So we recruit based on that fact. We recruit, you know, specialties, I guess. So that's how I increase my sales, is by doing the basic things. I'm probably telling you things that you know. Bit controversial, this one, but get rid of your bad customers. The customer is not always right. The customer can be a pain in the backside, and the customer can cost you a lot of money. Now, I try to turn everyone into a good customer, but there comes a time where you've got to cut your losses and say, look, maybe we're not the place for you. Maybe, you know, for example, we have gluten is a key ingredient in bagels. If you don't have gluten, they fall apart when you boil them. Okay. A lot of people are gluten-free or gluten intolerant. My shop ain't for you. You know, can I make a gluten-free bagel? Yes, I have made them. Are they tasty? No, they're horrible. And I won't be making any more of them. I'm not going to put my name to that. So sometimes, you know, they come in and they whinge and they, oh, why can't you do this? And why can't you? Look, it's not your shop. Go to guys who specialise in gluten-free. That's what they do. So it's a bit controversial, I know, but get rid of it. We had a guy, he wasn't gluten-free, but he was a good customer of ours at reviews. We're talking about reviews online. And he did a Google review. He put a 1-star review. 1 star, like, whoa. 4 stars and I'm getting a bit antsy, you know? But 1, and he basically said, look, customer of yours for a long time now, we attended today and got our usual, and when we got home it was cold. 1 star. So I never respond because I don't want to get into it. In this case I thought, I'm going to respond. I said, look, hey, I'm really sorry, really, really sorry that you had that experience, and I want to make it right, and a 1-star review is pretty bad. In fact, it's as bad as it gets. So we're going to, you know, buy your lunch. We'll buy your lunch. Well, I looked a couple of days ago in preparation for this, and he's actually changed the review to 4 stars because he realised that 1 star, I mean, you know, it was pretty out there. So, but important nonetheless, and I take that on board. Okay, marketing. You're a marketing expert. I'm not. So we do, our best form of marketing is our front of house. It's slow because you've got to build that rapport and repeat business. For example, we're really busy in school holidays with all these people who come to town. They find us in Bellbarry. Well, they're online or they're doing whatever they're doing, or they're getting a referral from somebody else. But that's taken 3.5 years. So you've got to be prepared to go in the long haul or spend a bunch of dough on marketing. I've been on radio, I've been in print. I think they both work, but I think socials is for us, food, cafes, I think that's where it's at. Okay. One of the big things with our business or my business was letting go, and I've found since I've let go that the business is growing more. So what I mean by that is, here I am sitting in front of Xero, and I'm pretending I know what I'm doing, and I'm not an accountant. Get an accountant. So you know, you hire an accountant, and then you know the accountant wants this and that, and I'm like, I don't know, I make bagels, you know, that's what I'm good at. So recently I've hired a guy who I know who's done work with other businesses, and he's kind of like I'm going to say PA, but he does all that sort of officey work, and we liaise. I tell him what I need done, he does it, and now I've got time to actually think, have a cup of coffee and work out what it is that needs to be done, not just reacting to things, actually planning. So that's something that's really helping to grow our business. And I've been able to go out on the road, call into some cafes and give them samples of my product, and lo and behold, my sales are going up. So, you know, that's been a really important thing. We're going to talk a bit about resilience. I'm no expert, but you know, I've had some issues, health issues in my life, and I think that taught me resilience. It wasn't easy. I sought professional help. I knew I had to, because I was dealing with, you know, you have a cancer diagnosis, you get well, you've got to go and get checked up every 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Every time that would come around, I'd freak. I would just totally lose it. Well, you go and engage the services of somebody like yourself, you know, a counsellor or a psychologist. Get some help. It clears your mind, and you can move on. So that's part of how I build my resilience. I also have a bit of the old school in me. I was brought up pretty old school, and you know, sometimes you just gotta harden up a bit. It's okay to be not okay, but sometimes when you've got 20 staff members, your delicatessen's gone underwater, they're all freaking out about their jobs and their families, etc. You've got to be a little bit strong and take the lead and say, you know what, it's okay, it's going to be cool, you do this, I'll do this, we're going to get through it. And you just got to, and go home and collapse with your partner and have a glass of wine and talk it through. But you just got to be that person sometimes, not all the time. And it is okay to be upset and depressed and anxious and down about your business. We love them, they're like kids. So, you know, it's okay to be like that. But I really think resilience is, as I get older, I get more resilient. Life throws things at you, you just roll with it. So, my dad once said to me, he was a business man, he's retired now. His secret to business success, and you may have heard this, but he said, mate, make sure your income is greater than your outgoings, or your upkeep will be your downfall. and that's that simple. So I've always tried to follow that advice, and yeah, that's where we are. So I really thank you. I hope I haven't rambled. I hope I've been somewhat cohesive. But that's our perspective on how we do business. I'm sorry my partner Nicole couldn't come today. She would have liked to have.
Tell me about how you got the name.
Ah,
Yes.
the name.
Because now you can open the question now.
Yeah, right.
yes.
Okay, the name.
Yeah.
Sweet. Steve, my business partner, the American, I said, what are we going to call this place? And he goes, man, I don't know, like, we had like a million different things. We would, working on the Jewish angle. And anyhow, he was on the beers one night with some other friends, not my friends, but his group of friends. And someone said, why do you call Black Market Bagels? And we just went, well, he went, yeah, rang me and said, what? I said, let's do it. So it was simply, we put it out there, we're trying to name a business, we put it out to the universe, and it came back to us. So yeah.
And then that became then colouring and branding and...
Yeah, and we worked again. So it was the first time, I would have, 20 years ago, I would have sat down with pen and paper or a computer and tried to design my own logo. No, just hand it on to somebody who knows what they're doing. They came back with logos, colours, that sort of thing, and it worked. And it seems to work okay. It's a bit of it's a funny name, it's a little bit different.
I think for me, when a few black entrepreneurs say how you got it, that because you go off the Jewish, you can do these rogue sort of
Yep.
things.
Yep.
That's the black market money.
And that's part of it. We sort of went, I guess it suits what we're doing, and it's got a bit of mystique about it.
But it's legal.
It's legal, everything we do is legal.
You're going, it's not like you're bootlegging or something.
No.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a really enjoyable, anyone who wants to get into business, you guys are probably the same, tell them to do it. Don't die wondering, have a go, just get into it. Any other questions? Good.
No, we've got time for questions. Yeah, we've got time for questions. So I've got a statement or a comment. I live near Bilberry and I discovered you and I went in and your customer care is what I noticed straight away because because a lot of places in Port sell coffee, right? There you go. Yeah, a lot of places sell coffee.
Yep.
Okay, you've got the bagels as well, but so it's how they make you feel when you walk in.
Yep.
And straight away it was, hi,